Recording. Okay, great. So, yeah, we'll get right started then. Thanks for everybody to take the time to attend this webinar. We are super pumped over here at Fidesic to get this webinar started with our relatively new partners over at Gorilla Expense. We're excited to have them as somebody that we can offer in our solution suites to all our customers that have those, advanced sort of expense management problems that we're going to be talking about here today. My name is Kevin Pritchard. I've been at Fidesic for an awful long time, over 10 years now. We're excited to keep growing in the BC space specifically, as that's kind of the focus of this webinar here for those customers that are BC focused. And we also have GP as well, but we'll be talking mostly about Business Central here today. And what our goal really is to kind of provide you some context on what your options are out there to help streamline and automate both accounts payable management as well as your expense management and what solutions we have to those problems. So we're going to try to frame it as, here's what the problems are, here's what our solutions are, and how we can help out. And if you guys want to take the time to introduce yourselves, that'd be great. We've got Pranav and Otto from Gorilla Expense with us here. So give a quick intro, guys, and we can kind of get rolling.
Thanks, Kevin. Yeah, I'm Otto from Gorilla Expense. I'm in the partner channel. So, yeah, I've been 2 years with the company. Very happy to be here and very happy to start this relationship with Fidesic as well. And happy to have this space to showcase what it is that we do.
Hi, I'm Pranav. I'm one of the product owner.
Looks like we lost him on mute there, but yeah, Pranav is product owner over there. He'll be helping us out with product demo side of things as well. So yeah, this is our first webinar that we've launched together. So we're just kind of getting the ball rolling with here. But what I've realized and what I think you guys have run into is expense management and AP are very, very similar in terms of the people that are involved. There's a lot of good crossover there, and we kind of wanted to bring this as like a package together that makes sense for people that are having problems with both invoices and their expenses and give them a suite that helps out on all of those fronts and kind of talk about that here today. So, without any further ado, we'll kind of get started here. So, um, hoping to get some feedback from Otto and Pranav on this as well. But really, I've talked to a lot of customers, and customers sort of think in terms of problems, right? So, there's problems that people have that they want to actually make improvements on. The obvious things on my end for AP automation and accounts payable generally, the number one thing that people complain about is the fact that they want to do less data entry. It's sort of obvious at this point that if you have somebody sitting there keying in invoices all day, that there's probably a better way given how quickly technology has moved, and there definitely is. So if that's something that you're struggling with, that's an obvious problem statement from my end, and that's probably the easiest thing to fix. And I know on the expense management piece, you guys have some data capture associated with that as well. Is that right?
Yep, that's correct.
For sure. So, in terms of expenses, that's definitely something that we can help out with as well. Extract data on receipts, not just invoices, and that's really an easy thing that we can correct. And I'll be talking about that in detail here. So, the other thing that people come to me and sort of they think of as their problem statement is chasing approvals. And by that, if you're in an office, that might mean going over and actually talking to people. But in reality, it means you're sending people emails. You're asking them if they approve certain invoices or expenses, and you're trying to figure out what's going on with that invoice, why it isn't getting paid. And that soaks up a surprising amount of time for accounts payable staff. And it's one of those things that just giving yourself a nice dashboard can help out with. And then the next thing, sort of the tier beyond that, is going to be less errors and not being able to do things quickly. If you're not being able to pay things on the terms that your vendors are sending it to you, that's a problem. If you're not reimbursing your employees promptly, they're going to get annoyed at you. So that's a problem too. That's a thing that is going to be important with there as well. And then sort of the bonus that happens with all of this is better visibility and better control over your process. So if any of this stuff sounds like you or the problems that you are facing, that's really what our intention here today is, to talk about these things and show you how we can help out. Not sure if there's anything else, Pranav or Otto, that you want to add in terms of what people talk to you about, or how do you know when you talk to somebody that there's a problem here that is a good fit for you guys to correct?
Pranav, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, the number one pain point is receipt collection, management of receipt, and also reconciling corporate card statement. That's that kind of ties to the first point here, less data entry,
Mhm.
in errors in flow process in general. When you want to close your month end books, it always takes time to chase people to get those receipts from our perspective. And
For
that's where
sure.
we come in and help AP departments to expedite that process.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That's sort of the thing that people mentioned to me when I realized we need to bring you guys in. It's that credit card management piece, the sort of detailed reconciliation, the corporate cards. I know that's what you guys do really well, and that's the other thing that is an obvious problem that we can help out with. So, what our objective is here today is just to show you what tools are available. We want you to see how they work in the real world. We've got a couple of quick demos lined up for you to show you how this works. We'll talk briefly about some real world examples of success. Because when you hear about somebody else that is similar to you, that has had success with a specific project, that means it might be a good fit for you too. So we always want to highlight those. And then, as if you filled out the form to register for this, we promised you some documentation at the end of this as well. Really, what our goal is we know not everybody is able to just make a decision on their own for this sort of thing. It'd be great if you were an accounts payable manager and you could just pull the trigger on this. We know that you have buying teams. We know that you have a process for making these sorts of decisions. So we're definitely going to give you some tools that help you communicate this need. If you're on this call, you realize that you have a need. It's just a matter of communicating that to your team. So we'll definitely give you some tools to communicate that with your team. And then finally, we'll give you some concrete next steps. Both the expense team and over at Fidesic, we're always happy to do custom calls and custom demos. So in terms of what we'll be talking about specifically, how this like breaks down into specific products and specific projects. The nice thing about all of this is if you've got your greatest need, you can pick one of these and start with it. If your expenses are crushing you and causing all your problems, but you know you want to get to AP eventually, that's great. Roll with the Gorilla immediately. Make that your top priority. Get that project done. Get that sorted, and then you can move out from there. Similarly, if your invoices, your AP invoices are your biggest problem and you're having problems just keeping up, keeping your head above water, we're happy to launch with just the Magic Capture portion, which is what's going to capture your invoice data. And then we can expand out to other products as time goes on. So pick what you need. That's always what I encourage people to do, is kind of tier list what products you or what issues you want to solve the most, and we can expand out from there. And we'll drill into all of these with the exception of Just Pay, which I just wanted to mention that that's another thing that we have. If you're having trouble paying your vendors by either ACH or paper check, definitely let us know. Not the topic of today's webinar, but it's another piece we can help out with. So, what is Magic Capture? Magic Capture is our web-based tool that connects directly with Business Central. And what that will do is allow you to submit and capture invoices without any manual data entry. We've run some numbers on our customers that use Magic Capture, and as it stands today, currently 96% of those invoices that we're processing are going to be what we call zero touch. What zero touch means is you don't have to edit anything on them. The coding's correct, the vendor's correct, everything's correct at a 96% rate. And that's based on our current customers. So that's real number that we pulled out from using that. And that means, on those remaining 4%, you might have to adjust the coding or something like that. But the vast majority of that is already going to be entered directly. And because it integrates so tightly with Business Central, that means that you're not going to have to rekey it into Business Central, obviously. Another cool thing about Magic Capture from my perspective is if you've looked at some other options out there, most data capture systems are going to be super template heavy, where you have to tell it to go look for the vendor ID here, go look for the invoice number there. We don't have any of those. We've recently rebuilt this system from the ground up in the past 2 years using the latest technology. And what that means is there's no templates. And beyond that, it's going to learn just by you using the system. So for a couple of invoices early on, it might not be perfect, but just by using the system, that's going to cause a feedback loop, improve our capture as time goes on. And the other really great thing that our capture system does is it works great with multiple location setups. So we can read ship to addresses, we can interpret dimensions based on that. There's a whole lot we can do as it relates to multi-location capture, and all that's just going to be built in. So I'll skip that as I will get into a real world demo and show you exactly how it works. And then the second part of that process is once you've got that invoice captured, you're going to send it out for approval. We can route it based on any particular data parameter on that invoice, including locations, including codes, including dimensions. We can do all that to get it routed out to those users directly. So that's sort of the zoomed out view. I was going to do a quick demo to show you how this looks and feels in the real world, and then we'll talk a bit more about expense management itself. So, I've just logged in to Fidesic. This is the front end view of our system that you'll be doing the majority of your work from. And this is how we actually start out with the process. This is just my test account that I have set up here. It's connected to a BC test account. So that's how that works. So the way that our system is set up is we'll talk about the capture portion first. So the way that we actually capture invoices is we will create for you a custom email address, and then from there you can forward on your invoices, and everything that's sent to that inbox will be captured automatically. That's the best way to get things in. It's not the only way to get things in. If you want to enter things directly, if you've got a copy of an invoice sitting on your desktop, you can just go grab the file, upload it directly. Makes it easy to get things in multiple ways, but the best way is to just send it in via email. That's the fastest, easiest way. So before we hopped on here, I did submit an invoice for capture to our system. And this is real world capture, real world invoice, and the level of capture that you can expect with our system. So as you can see, this is a pretty horrible scan of an invoice. This is a crumpled up piece of paper that I then took a photo with on my phone and then sent it into the email address. And despite the fact that this is pretty terrible, we were able to extract all of this data and assign it directly from our capture. So this is the level of data that was returned from our capture, and then we push that out into the approval workflow. So as you can see, we were able to pick what vendor it's from. We got the invoice. We assigned coding based on the line data and the information that we have on the invoice. Of course, terms, date, all of that's going to be something that we capture as well. And it's like I said, it's all going to be based on your data. So one of the great things about our system is the fact that we're so tightly integrated with Business Central. We have access to all this info. You don't have to configure any of this. We're going to have your vendor list and be able to match it based on address information. We're going to have your codes and your dimensions and be able to match that based on line data. All of that's going to come pre-built with the system just by the act of installing it. So in terms of onboarding, I was actually doing demos of this at Summit North America, where we could really create an account and start submitting invoices within 5 minutes because it's just that fast. There's no real configuration necessary. You can just set up our module, submit for capture, and then really get working. So this invoice itself will be routed out to whoever you have determined is the correct approver. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the actual workflow engine itself here today, but just know it's extremely flexible. You can have any number of stages, any number of rules. There's no limit on any of that. You can route those invoices to whoever you need to get it sent to them. As you can see, the person I'm logged in as is the approver on this. So you can see that if I go to my notifications that I have one invoice to approve. If I click that, I'll be taken to my invoice approval queue here. I can review and approve. If I do need to make adjustments to this invoice, I have the option to do so. And that's going to feed back into our capture engine the next time around. So it's going to continually get smarter. That said, this all looks good to me. I can simply approve this, go ahead and make my approval. And now this invoice is going to be in an approved status and always available to you within our system to look up in the historical record. So something else that I didn't mention at the top of this, which I probably should have, is if you guys have any questions, definitely throw them in the chat. We will get to them as they come in if they're quick, or if there's something more detailed that you want to see a question specific to your use case. Definitely let us know. Pop that in the chat, and we will respond accordingly. Um, so other useful things here very quickly before we hop over to BC. This invoices received tab is going to have a full history of all of your invoices. So if you need to look up any history, you can do so. We've got a dashboard that'll show you where everything is. So you can see who's been lagging on their approvals. This FightEssex support hasn't approved anything in 33 days. Easy to get this data out. And of course, there's a ton of built-in reports for accruals, aging, you name it. There's a lot of built-in reports. None of this is necessary to get it over to Business Central, but it is available to you. So try to make it easy. And the other note is any custom combination of filters that you build on this invoices received page, you can always export that out directly to Excel as well. We know people like to get data in Excel, so we make it easy to do so. So we've got an approved invoice now. As we can see, we've got one invoice in an approved status. And what that means is we can now export this over to Business Central. So our Business Central system or a Business Central connector is just a app that you can add from Microsoft App Source. We'll show you how to do that later in the session here today. But we'll install our module directly into Business Central and make it easy to get your data back and forth. So for your vendors, your chart of accounts, your dimensions, all that information is going to be syncing in real time with our system. So if you add a vendor in Business Central, it will show up in FightEssex immediately after and then be available for capture. Same with coding, same with dimensions. But on the invoicing side, we do have the user initiate that import process. So this might be a daily, weekly task for your AP staff. They can come here, go to their purchase invoices tab, and then from there, they'll have the option under this FightEssex menu to import FightEssex purchasing invoices. And that's going to go look at our system, look for everything that's currently in an approved status, and go import that across into Business Central without that user having to enter any of this information in. So we'll actually create these invoices directly in Business Central with all the data filled out for you. As we can see, we've got our invoice here. I'll go zoom into it if you need. All this information is pre-populated. We've added the line level detail. Any taxes will be calculated. All of this is going to be entered automatically. That means as a user, you don't have to enter that info in. We'll also bring over the attachment. So you've got that original scan here. If you're curious what that is, that's the exact same document that I submitted. It's now available on here. And from a general use perspective, you don't have to do anything at this point. You're just going to go ahead and post your invoices and go about your day processing as you would normally. So from an AP clerk perspective, you have way less to do in terms of entry. All you got to do is click that import button. If you've got 500 pending, beautiful. All 500 will pull across at the same time and you will be all set. So that's the ultra quick version of the FightEssex demo. Again, if you have any questions, throw those in the chat. I will either field them via chat response, or we can talk at the end, or we can schedule a custom call. So yeah, submit via email, captured automatically, route it wherever you need to. You don't have to follow up with anybody. You've got top-down view, and then of course that data will sync into BC seamlessly. So if I hop back over. So now I'll pass it over to Gorilla Team and we'll go through some overview slides just to kind of set the scene for how they can help out. And then they've also prepared a short demo for us to hop in. So take it away.
Perfect. Thank you, Kevin, for that. And thank you again, everyone, for joining. So today we want to explain how our expense management solution works. We have been in the expense management space for more than 12 years now. And yeah, we're thankful for this space. Can you help us, Kevin, by going to the other side? Perfect. So basically, much like what Pytesic does, our idea is to help expense users to eliminate manual labor, right, or manual tasks. And we can help them with our mobile solution that also has a receipt scan feature, much like the one that Fidesic has as well, which you can use via your mobile device, and you can snap a picture of a receipt you have right in front of you, and the receipt scan capability or feature will use optical character recognition and extract data from that invoice in order to create an expense line to be populated into an expense report. We also have the feature where you can send receipts that you have in your inbox to one of our email addresses, and then we can also add that information in all of your user um, surfaces. So, for example, if you have you're logging into your mobile device or via web app, everything will be synced together. You can also have for managers, they can approve expenses over our mobile application, so they don't have to use it in the web app. Basically, you can complete expenses and approve without having to get in front of a computer, right? With our solution, you also have the capability to track projects and tracking costs against a customer, also by dimensions. We have the option to link to your corporate credit card statement. That way, your corporate credit card transactions will start flowing into our environment. We support Amex, Visa, and MasterCard. And that way, you can also code corporate card expenses with our solution, right? We also have automatic credit card import, and we also have the ability to sync receipts and match them to each corporate card transactions. Um, we also have the ability to set up expense policies, receipt policies, approval limits, multi-level approvals, amongst other features. And we also have a very comprehensive suite of reports that managers and AP clerks can also use in order to facilitate whatever needs they have at that point. Pranav, do you have anything else you want to complete, or should I move on to the mobile demo?
Yeah, please move on.
Okay. Yeah, perfect.
Thanks.
Yeah,
I'll
Kevin,
stop
can
and you
you?
should be able to grab control here. One sec, Otto.
Okay, send request. Got it. Okay, let me share screen. I guess you can see my screen now. Let me share screen of my mobile device, and please confirm if you can see it once it's. Can you see the screen of my mobile device?
I don't think so.
Okay. Can you see it now? Or are we still on
No, actually, you're not
web browser?
sharing. Um, we,
Oh, screen. It's not showing for some reason. Okay.
There we
Now
go.
can you see
okay,
it?
there you go.
Yep.
Yep,
Perfect. Thank you. My
you can see the
mistake.
web
I
browser now.
forgot
Yeah,
to.
yeah.
Okay. Can you see now
Yep.
the web solution? It's a bit slow. Might be my internet. Sorry. Allow me 1 second, please. Apologies for that. Okay. Perfect. Thank you. If you're able to see my screen, this is how our solution looks like in the mobile device. We have versions for iOS. Also, we have versions for Android devices. So again, this everything that you will be seeing here is a demo environment. So all the fields are enabled. One of our products that we also have is timesheets, but for users that only need expenses or for customers that are only requiring expenses, this tab won't be shown in their home screen. Also, approvals, as I mentioned earlier, is the section for managers to approve or reject expense reports on the go. So users who are not managers, they won't be able to see this tab as well. We have the section for expense reports where you will create and export these reports. Expenses where you will create single line item expenses, and the receipt box, which is what we consider like a Dropbox, and that way you can sync all your receipts across all the devices, right? So very quickly, I will showcase the receipt scan capability. I have a receipt scan. I have a receipt in front of me that I will take a picture. So what you do is you click here in options and then add receipt. It will ask you where do you want to add the receipt from. I will choose camera and I will take the picture of the receipt that I have right in front of me. Perfect. And once you do that, then by clicking the use photo, you have the option to crop that receipt. Once you do so, then the receipt will start getting scanned and our solution will start extracting the information of that receipt, right? Just to save time, I had scanned the same receipt before. You can see it right below. It says scan successful. This usually takes like a minute or so, depending on the speed of your internet and the connectivity. But just to speed things up, I will click on the one below. As you see, it says scan successful. It has already extracted the date, the amount, and the vendor. So to add this to an expense line, I will click in options and attach to a new expense. We can set everything to default. So for example, in the department field, if you want, if this is like a user from the sales department and you want like our solution to set the department for sales by default, every time they use the solution, we can set that up, of course. I will choose just a random customer for this exercise. And then you have the option to add type of expenses. You have here, you're able to view the amount already extracted there, the vendor, the payment method, in this case is cash or personal card, country, city, and state. You also have the option to add comments or other comments, which is also helpful for expense policy limits as well. So I will add the expense type. As I mentioned earlier, this is a demo environment, so we have everything enabled here, but we can always populate this drop-down menu with the specific fields that you require. I'm just going to choose meals and code this as a meals expense. And by clicking in save, you have created an expense line item. As you see, it's very fast, very quick, very convenient, and it takes very little time to do so. Just I will create a second type of expense just to show you another one of our features. If I go into the expense tab, as I just did, you see that we have the mobile section. This is where all the out-of-pocket expenses will be coded. And then we have the bank section. As I mentioned earlier, we have the ability to sync with your corporate credit card statement and all the transactions will start flowing in here. Let's just go back to the mobile tab and I will create a second expense by clicking in options. I will create the expense. Again, we can set the department and the customer, the department as default if you need to. I will create a random customer and then I will create a different type of expense just to show you another of our features. So I will choose a mileage expense. And you may not have noticed that this section here just changed. Now it shows us the distance and the mileage rate, which is the IRS rate already populated there. So you can enter the value for the distance manually, or you can use the calculate miles option, which uses Google Maps on the back end to do the math for you. So just for this exercise, I will choose an origin point, Duluth, and then the destination, I will choose Atlanta. I will click and done. And as you can see, it has already shown us the approximate number of miles here. We also have the option to add another destination. We support multi-destination. I will keep it simple. Just from Duluth to Atlanta, click and done. and then save. And that's it. You already coded your mileage expense. Automatically, our solution takes the origin or the start point and end point for reference in the comments field, and it takes the snapshot of the Google Maps map as a receipt. So if you save it, you have already coded two type of expenses. Very quick, very easy. Um, Apologies, my internet is a bit slow today. But yeah, now everything has been synced. And if I go back and if I go to the expense report section, I will attach these transactions or expense line items to an expense report. I have already created one just for time purposes, but to do so, you just click here and create report. You give this report a name, a report type, start and end date, and if you want comments or additional comments. But I have already created one, so let's use the one that I did already. And let's add the expenses that we just created to this expense report. So by clicking here at the bottom right button, you will add existing expenses and it will take you to the out of pocket section. So I will choose the mileage and the meals expense. And let's just take one from the bank section. So let's take this fees expense, add them, and you can see that it shows us the type, the amount, and the date, and also gives us a breakdown of what the subtotal is, what is not reimbursable, as it will pay back to the corporate card, and what is reimbursable. Next, to submit this, I will validate by clicking here. So as I mentioned earlier, we have multi-level manager approvals as well that can be set up in the system. And so at this point, the validation process will inform the user if they need to have this approved by multiple managers or if they can just submit it. So I will click here. Oh, so again, one of our validation processes ensures that the dates entered for the report and the expenses are the same. So the start date, I know that there's a mistake because the receipt that I scanned is from January of 2023. So I'll save it and validate to submit. Perfect. All expenses are valid. Now I can submit it. All of our expense reports. Okay, this is new. But all of our expense reports will be tied to an expense confirmation number, and that can be also found on the manager's dashboard. That way, the manager will be able to approve that report without any issue. And we also have different other features that I will be able to show you in, okay, perfect. So report submitted with confirmation number GE3602. So as you see, from the user's standpoint, their work is done. They don't have to do anything else. Now it's up to the manager to approve or to reject that expense report. Now, if I decide to show you very quickly how a manager approves or rejects the expense report, I will have to log in to our web um, application. So just signing in, then this would be the manager's dashboard. He will be shown what they are recently working on, and then the expenses or expense reports that are awaiting for approval. So here is the one that I just created. So you can see the report name, the report confirmation number, and it gives us like a summary of the whole expense report. By clicking on the employee name, then you will be able to see the manager workflow or the approvals workflow. So at the moment, it's not been approved. It gives you a heads up if there are any policies that have been breached or if there are any potential duplicates. You have the option to approve or reject by adding comments as well. If a manager wishes to redirect this to a different manager altogether, they can do so. Add comments as well. We can populate this drop-down menu with the corresponding people that you need to. We have a PDF preview, which is a very handy PDF document that has a summary of the whole expense report with subsequent pages that hold the receipts of the expense line items that have been attached there. And each page has the expense type, the date, and the amount as well. This is very handy as well. So if I continue scrolling down, then we have the summary of the expense report. We have if there are any violations, potential duplicates, or if there are no receipts attached, you can see that it's in red. So if I click here on the receipt part, then you can see that we can show side by side the receipt with the summary of the transaction. If you click in the arrow, you go to the next expense line item. This is the report at the corporate card expense that we attached. And then if we go again to the following expense line item, you can see that everything is already there. We also have this little magnifier glass for receipts that have very small fonts. Perfect. And lastly, if a manager wishes to edit the report by clicking here in edit, then they will be presented in each expense line item the option to remove that report, that line item, to edit it, to copy it, or to split it. And they can split it between departments by amount or by percentages. Very handy as well. I won't do anything, click back and approve it. And that's how quickly a manager approves a report. And at this point, if we wish to send that to Business Central in this case, then the AP manager or admin will log in as an admin. So I have just shown you how what a user has to do, then what the manager has to do. Now I will show you very quickly what the admin or the AP manager would have to do. Once they log in, they click here in integrations and in export expense reports. Now, for company, they can click the corresponding company. I will just click in all, and report type, I will choose corporate because that's the one that I used in the expense report that I first exported. Show approved expense reports, and now it would load the approved expense reports by managers. I will scroll all the way down and select the one that we just approved, which is GE3602. We'll click on here, scroll all the way back up, and update status to AP approved. Send to ERP and update status. And then it takes a minute or so to load, and it will show us once it has already been exported. So at this point, this GE3602 report has already been exported to Business Central. Now I will show you in my Business Central environment by clicking in purchasing, purchase invoices, scrolling all the way down. We can see that the report that I just exported and the previously approved is showing already in our Business Central environment. You can see that it is with two different vendor numbers, and this is because one is reflecting the corporate card line item, and then the other one will be reflecting the out-of-pocket expenses that we coded. So if I click here, then you can see the description and the comment that is tied to the corporate card expense. And if I go back, the same confirmation number, but -1 will show the out-of-pocket transactions that I just made. It also includes an attachment, and that attachment is the same PDF that I previously showed. So if I click here, you can see that it has the summary of the expense report and subsequent pages with individual receipts that have been attached to that report. So, yep, that is basically how our solution works and how it exports back to Business Central. Pranav, if you wish to add anything.
Had a couple of questions that maybe you could field that came in while you were talking, if that's cool with you, Otto.
Yep.
So, question one is relates to how you can link the corporate card transactions back into Business Central. And I think what they're trying to ask is, we saw that there was the one that was paid to Amex directly. Is there a way to like record that as a payment method of a credit card, or is it always going to be like an invoice to the credit card vendor, if that question makes sense? I think I phrased that close.
Yeah, I think it can be both. The challenge is sometimes the statement, the merchants that you see on the statement, there are thousands of these merchants. If you have 1,000 lines in the statement, you can have potentially have 1,000 such merchants. The question is like, would you have the same spelling in Business Central for those, and how easy it is to match those as they come in on the statement, versus what most customers do, like 99% of our customers is just they do the analytics and reporting of um, what their spend is within Gorilla Expense, and they all they care about in Business Central is um, what
Paying
what
paying
accounts.
Amex, yeah.
Yeah, they want to pay Amex, and then just make sure the GL accounts and dimensions are accounted for accurately.
Okay, great. I think that answers that. And then the other question that came in is with that credit card syncing, how often does that happen? So getting the credit card statements, transactions, how often does that happen? And can you change how often that syncs?
Yeah, it's typically done daily. So we wait for the posted transactions on a particular day and then bring that in um, every single day.
Okay, great. That was the questions that came in. Yeah, that looks slick. That's great. I love the auto generation of the attachment for the mileage. That's very cool how it makes you a little mini map to makes it easy to quickly validate is this trip legit or not, right? You can just see it right on the map.
Right.
Right.
Right. And
Right.
there are a bunch of things we do automatically as well, is like, we can create an entire expense report automatically based on your statement start date and end date. So if your statement starts on, say, the 5th of each month and ends on 4th, we could create all a report for your users that have their respective transactions on it, and also attach the receipt to those transactions. So that way they don't have to even create a report.
Hmm. Great.
One other thing that I also wanted to add is that, for example, I just showed you what an AP manager would have to do to export this to Business Central. We can also automate this. So, for example, if they decide that, each month on the 15th, all of the manager approved expense reports should be pushed over to Business Central. We can automate that so that they don't have to manually do so. But a lot of our customers prefer to manually check things, but it can also be automated as well.
Cool. That's great. Other question that came in, which I'm not sure the answer for you guys. Do you work with like BC on-prem version or just the cloud version?
Yes, we do work with BC on-prem as well.
Cool. Same for us. Yeah. FidoSec also. We can do the on-prem version of BC. We can get you the installer directly, as opposed to app source, but yes. So, um, as we kind of wrap things up now on this, so like I mentioned at the top, you got to have a way to present this to your team to make it make sense. Just because it makes your life a little bit easier isn't necessarily going to make your CFO think that this is a good option for you. Um, and just wanted to like highlight a couple of things that I think are easy to help sell your case on this. Obviously, time saved is money. Uh, the best way to quantify saving time is to show what else you could be doing that could be potentially saving money or generating revenue. Always framing it in that way that I've got extra time now. I can look into, negotiating with vendors more directly. I can focus on my actual job. In the case of expense management, I have to spend less time submitting things and approving things. And then the thing that I think always works really well if you're talking to the C-suite or people that are invested in the company's success is to emphasize scalability with solutions like these. While the benefit in the current day and age, you can quantify that, you can say what that is, but the real benefit of deploying something like this is how well it can increase your scalability as a department, as opposed to just like cost saving in the present. So we've seen customers that have deployed this stuff and they've been able to grow it massive, rapid trajectories and not have to, constantly hire new AP clerks and new managers to approve expenses. Um, that's one of the best things, especially if you're at a company that has targeted higher growth. Getting these things solved now is a great way to get set up in a way, or to convince your team that this is something that you need now. And to speak to that directly, one of the customers that we've worked with that's been a great advocate for us and done many case studies is a company called MB2 Dental. They needed full AP capture, approval routing, and they also needed help with their ACH processing and check processing. And over the past couple of years, they've grown from 200 to over 500 individual locations. And while they were doing that, they've been able to keep their AP team the same size. So that's massive evidence for setting yourself up for growth in a way that doesn't require constantly adding more overhead just to take care of things. And then furthermore, they've been able to supercharge their process and take that total processing time from 10 down to 5 days. So we cut their time in half and we allowed them to double in size without having to go add additional staff into the equation. So that's just, one concrete example that we have on our end. And I'm not sure what you guys want to say on your customer example that you have, but feel free to add some details around this.
Thanks. So, yeah, in the past, we Monrovia reached out to us. They were using Concur previously, and they were having, some I don't want to say issues, but concerns um, that they thought we were able to handle better. And one of that was like, for example, our customer support is not bots and it's not like a already pre-answered FAQ list. So this is something that we pride ourselves with, is that we have actual people working on your specific problems, and we have a 24-hour timeline to get back to you. But this is something that has allowed us to address specific concerns or questions when they have come up to us, and it's something that a lot of our customers value because it's very easy to get in touch with us. It's very easy to jump on a call with us and to go over any type of questions you might have. And well, yeah, that's one of our
That's
biggest things that customers do appreciate. Pranav, if you want to add something on that. Oh, Pranav, I think you're muted.
Yeah. So no, I think that was kind of a big deal for them because one of their tickets was pending with Concur for like several months, and when issues don't get resolved in a critical area like AP, obviously that was one of the reasons why they switched over to us.
cool. That's great. So, yeah, I definitely resonate with that. That's something that we take pride in as well. Not to throw shots at the, giant companies of the world that do these sorts of things, but we run into the same thing. You guys have Concur, we have Bill.com that we run into on this sort of stuff. And yeah, support is definitely a big differentiator. It's always nice working with companies that will pay attention to you and actually address your issues as opposed to throwing you into some support queue that's very generic. Um, so we'll try to wrap things up. Um, Before we do that, we did have one question come in that I know I can speak to on our end. So basically, a user is asking, like, are there ways to control what specific data users have access to? In our world, we can definitely do that. We generally control that based on dimension code. So if you're in charge of a certain department or something like that, we can limit down that user's visibility into that specific department. And I would assume you guys have similar things based on you can only see the expenses you've submitted, or you're the approver manager and you can only see the things that you need to approve. Does that chart with
That's
how
correct.
it works? Okay,
Yep. Yep.
cool. So, yeah, just to wrap up on what some next steps are for you on this. Like I said, we will be following up with some support materials to everybody that has attended. We want to give you something to walk away with that you can then use to evaluate and kind of go from there. That said, Both of these solutions are available on AppSource. So if you look us up on AppSource, you can go grab it. Very easy to install Fidesic in your sandbox environment, test it out. We're happy to assist you with that. Of course, if you're working with a Dynamics partner, you can talk to them as well and they'll assist you. But both these solutions are available on AppSource, so definitely look it up. You can also view a whole expense management demo for Gorilla if you want. With Fidesic specifically, we do have a free version of it where you can process up to 100 monthly invoices. And that's free as long as you want to use it. So definitely encourage people to go do that. Again, you can just go grab it on AppSource and try it for free. There's no time limit. There's no constraints other than users and invoices. And once you grow beyond that, we'll be happy to upgrade you to the professional version to handle all your invoice needs. We'll stay on this slide for a little bit. If you want to get a demo of Fidesic specifically, like I said, you can add us on AppSource. You can go to fidesic.com and click on one of our many sign up for a custom demo buttons. You can email us at sales@fidesic, or if you want to schedule a call with me specifically, this is the QR code to do it. Scan that with your phone right now. It'll take you to a meeting link scheduler, and that will schedule you a custom call. Happy to chat details. And same idea with Gorilla. If you want to go grab it on AppSource, go grab it. You're free to do so. If you want a custom demo, you can certainly do so by going to gorillaexpense.com. And similarly, you can send them an email to sales at Gorilla or schedule a custom demo. So we'll leave this up, get my mouse out of the way so you can actually scan it and get where you want to. Um, so yeah, that's really what we are hoping to get through here today. I greatly appreciate everybody taking some time out of their very busy schedule. We will absolutely follow up with some materials to try to make this worth your time. And if anything is interest, definitely reach out to us. You can, like I said, pick a side to get started with. If expense is the bigger issue, reach out to Gorilla. We'll get you set up. If you want to tackle both at once, sweet. We can do that too. So we're happy to work with Gorilla to make this one project to get expense and AP taken care of in one fell swoop. And if you're in the process of migrating to Business Central, there is no greater time to get your system set up than while you got that sandbox that you're testing. So highly encourage that. Yeah, I guess Otto, Pranav, any final details that we want to add in here before we break?
Yeah, just so one quick thing, we'll closely work together in the future as well on the product roadmap. So if you think there are things that should think between Biotech and Gorilla Expense to make your life more productive, we'll be happy to incorporate those kind of suggestions in the product roadmap.
For sure. Yeah, agree completely. There's a lot of things that we can do. Yeah, if nothing else, dashboards visibility so you can have a one-stop shop to go look everything up would be a no-brainer. Single sign-on is a no-brainer between the two systems and try to make things as easy as possible for you. So, all right, great. Well, I appreciate your guys' time. Thanks for attending, and we'll send you some follow-ups and don't be shy. Reach out to us if you want some more info. So thanks everybody for attending and hope you have a good day.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody.
Take care all. Bye-bye.